Hey guys, welcome back to the interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we are back with talking about the updated, it's not really an updated complete guide, but I should say it's a supplementary guide for Ezreal, of course, for patch 4.3b onwards. And this is going to go over Ezreal's Frozen Gauntlet build. Now first up, right at the beginning of the video, of course I'm going to have to mention to check out Ezreal's basic guide that I will put up in the cards above for his skills, leveling order tips and tricks as well as combos. And something else I want to mention is, personally, I'm not a big fan of this build because as you guys know, my personal belief is majority of the time you want your ADCs to be building more damage and to be able to do damage, which, don't get me wrong, this build does do damage. It's not like a full tank build or anything like that, but I prefer to just go for builds like, you know, like this one, or even the Essence Reaver kind of build where you have like pure damage. But this one you have like a lot less damage than all of the other Ezreal builds, but in exchange you have a lot more defensive capabilities and as well as a lot more utility with the slows on the Frozen Gauntlets. It's kind of a trade-off. Now, interestingly enough, the top 1 and 2 Ezreal at the moment are using this build. So this build clearly, you know, is popular. Clearly, it has a place in the meta, which is why I gave it a try, and I'm of course covering it in this video. But as with every other champion, I personally believe that what build you go for is based on what you like about the champion, your playstyle, and what you perceive the champion identity to be like. So it doesn't really suit me, but I'm gonna cover it anyways. Jumping straight into the items. First up, of course, we still want to get the mana mune. Of course, this is going to give you, of course, the mana as well as the on-hit damage on your Q, as well as your autos, and actually all your abilities, but mainly on your Q is the important one. And of course, you want to start off the build at level 1 with a longsword, and on your first bank you want to get a tier. After you get tier, you want to get Sheen as soon as possible, because Sheen is going to increase your damage by a lot. So after you complete the mana mune, then you go into Frozen Gauntlet. So let's cover what Frozen Gauntlet does. Firstly, it gives you 250 max health, immediately making you more tanky. 50 armor, which of course really useful, gives you mana as well as ability haste. So now the reason why of course mana is very useful is because obviously your mana mune, or rather I should say your mirror mana, if we can actually just take a look at the mirror mana here. Of course, the mirror mana does damage scaling off of your mana. So even though the ICEBORN Gauntlet is a defensive item, it is indirectly going to increase your damage from your mirror mana. So it does, of course, give you increased damage from the mirror mana. And additionally, you will also deal physical damage, of course, equal to 100% of your base AD, together with 25% of your bonus armor, and create a slowing field by 30%. So of course, scaling with your base AD is great, 30% slow field is great, which is the main reason why you don't build Serelda's Grudge, because Serelda's also slows by 30%, and slows do not stack in the game. So building Serelda's Grudge is going to be a complete waste of money, and it's gonna be completely troll basically. So here you can see it scales off of bonus armor, both the damage as well as the size of the field itself. So which is why we'll cover this later. But for the next item, you want to go for boots. Actually, you can go for boots earlier as well, depending on the situation. But generally, this build is a lot more defensive, so you want to go for defensive boots. Now, I put Merc Treads here as a default because you already are getting armor from the ICEBORN Gauntlet. So assuming that there is magic damage on the enemy team, Merc Treads is going to give you both defenses, of course, and reduce the magic damage you take by 15% as well. But if you want armor boots, like if there's a lot of AD threats on the enemy team, or if the enemy team is full AD, you can also go for plated steel caps, which is of course going to give you the health, the armor, as well as movement speed, and reduce your physical damage. Of course, with the Merc Treads, it's the opposite, for magic you resist instead. And then for your next item, you really have like two choices here. Your first choice is going to be Blade of the Rune King, and your second choice is going to be Riftmaker. Now, Riftmaker overall deals more damage, but I think Blade of the Rune King is overall better for this build, because this build is not really about pure damage. It's of course about utility, and it is of course about the tankiness. So the reason why Blade of the Rune King is better than Riftmaker with this respect is both Riftmaker and Blade of the Rune King both give you healing, so that's about the same. Both of them have tank shredding capabilities. Riftmaker with the true damage, and Blade of the Rune King with the percent current health damage on hit. So that is kind of similar. But to me, I think the main difference between the two items is two factors. First up, Blade of the Ruined King gives attack speed, which is going to allow you to auto attack a lot faster, which is of course going to be useful for Ezreal because he's an ADC. And secondly, it's going to give you that Drain passive, which is really the main reason why I take this over the Riftmaker, because with the Drain passive you're going to get not the bonus magic damage is nice, but that's not the main point. The main point is getting that additional movement speed, because this is going to increase your survivability by a lot, because then getting that increase in movement speed is going to allow you to run away or even chase people down. That's why I think it's generally better. Then, because obviously, as I said, we don't need Sorrel's Grudge, so generally you want to go for Maul Reminder. You don't build any crit anyway, so there's no reason to go for LDR, so it's going to be pretty much Maul Reminder 100% of the time when you go for this ICEBORN Gauntlet build. So Maul Reminder, of course, Armor Pen, Grievous Wounds, a little bit of AD. And for your last item here, of course we don't want Sorrel's Grudge there, but for your last item here, you want to go for a Guardian Angel. And of course Guardian Angel gives you AD, which is great, gives you that revive, which is the main reason you get Guardian Angel. Of course this is very defensive as well, gives you a revive with half health and mana as well to keep yourself in the game, but it also gives you 40 armor. And if you guys remember, of course ICEBORN Gauntlet, the damage scales off of bonus armor and also the slow size scales off of armor. So this is also going to indirectly increase your damage on your ICEBORN Gauntlet as well, which combos very well. And if your GA is popped and you want to sell and get another item, of course this is going to be where your Riftmaker is going to come in. So then you can go for Riftmaker as a last item if the game even lasts that long. But aside from that, we're going to talk about the runes. So this time we're going to go for Conqueror, because as we mentioned, this is kind of a build where you do a lot of sustained damage, stay alive for very long because you're tanky. So Conqueror is going to be the way to go, gives you more vamp and gives you more AD as well. Of course Brutal for the unhit damage, Coup de Grace to finish off low HP enemies, or you could go for Giant Slayer if there's a lot of tanky targets. And of course Bloodline, because it's going to give you more healing from the Omnivamp, because of course this helps you survive longer. And finally, because the build is very defensive, I actually don't go for Bone Plating on this build. I actually like to go for Transcendence, which is going to give me more ability haste, because I don't get any ability haste from my last 3 items, unlike other Ezreal builds that involve items like Sorrel's Grudge or Essence Reaver, where you do get ability haste from all of your items. So I'm lacking in ability haste compared to other builds, so I get my Transcendence to get myself more ability haste, as well as of course reduce my ability cooldowns. And for the spells, pretty much only one way to go here. We go for Flash and we go for Exhaust. Guess you could go for Barrier as well, but Barrier is just not very good in the current meta. Exhaust is pretty OP compared to it. But without further ado, let's jump into talking about our gameplay. Okay, so here we have the gameplay itself. Now, of course, as usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll of course be sure to address them. So, anyways, it's pretty weird because I sort out the champions by lane. You can see that on the left side it's sorted, like Varus is mid and Lilia is jungle, but you can see on the scoreboard itself Lilia and Varus is not swapped. I have no idea what's happening there, but we're not gonna care too much about that. What's happening here is we are trading pretty aggressively now. We're taking a lot of damage from Xayah, whereas we traded a lot of damage onto the Lulu, which is both a good and a bad target, because generally Lulu heals and shields Xayah. Xayah tries to flash in. I have to of course flash away to make sure that I don't die. But as I was mentioning, normally she uses her stuff on Xayah, so attacking her, you can see, does pay dividends because Nami is able to pick up first blood. Here Xayah is trying to chase in, Lilia is coming in for the gank, tries to flash in for the Q, but Xayah actually walked back towards us, which is actually the very smart play here. Because of the fact that Lilia showed up and Xayah did not have flash, she was 100% dead. So considering me and Nami are low, her best move was to do what she did there, which is try to walk towards me and Nami and hopefully trade 1-for-1, because she's already gonna die. But unfortunately for her, she does not get the trade, and overall, me and Nami both are able to pick up a kill, whereas Lilia is kind of left with nothing, unfortunately. But lane starts out pretty well for us. So you can see on our first back, we're going to pick up the tier, as I mentioned in the build section of the video. We want to of course start stacking our tier as soon as we can, to of course get to that power spike of having the Manamune. But anyways, here another interesting thing you guys will note in this particular game is their team is basically full AD. Because Ornn does AD damage, so does Xin Zhao, Lucian, as well as Xayah. Lulu is the only AP, but Lulu basically does no damage because she's just there to heal and shield her teammates. So this basically gives insane value to the Frozen Gauntlet because it's gonna make me insanely tanky since the entire enemy team is literally physical damage. And this also allows me to itemize into building the plated steel caps instead of the merc treads because obviously we don't have any magic damage to deal with aside from Lulu, which is a negligible amount of damage. So you know, with the 12% decrease in physical damage taken, together with the extra armor from our Frozen Gauntlet, this is going to be really useful. So here we managed to get a catch on Lulu. Lulu managed just to escape and Xayah trades back, but eventually we end up killing Xayah instead as she's trying to trade back while Lulu is running away. So overall, another nice 2v2 kill from us in the lane. So now Xayah is out of the picture and we're able to push in the lane, and then we are able to of course recall and get ourselves some items. Of course, we're going to be building the Sheen as our next item to, as I said, increase our damage in the early stages of the game. And here is basically what you normally have as Ezreal. You always have a long sword into tier into Sheen. There are very rare instances that I, of course, do complete the Mana Mune first. Sometimes if I have enough gold to immediately complete Mana Mune, but even so, most of the time when I have that kind of gold, I still go for Sheen first because really, without having Sheen, you do a very negligible amount of damage. Not negligible, but really low amount of damage in the earlier stages of the game. So regardless, here we're back in action, of course just farming up the minions, control ward back into the bush to ensure that nothing sneaky is happening in there. Of course, me and Nami are both, you know, we're not fed, but we are doing considerably well versus our lane counterparts. Both of us are 1k gold up on our counterparts. And we're definitely not afraid to start a fight or to fight them because obviously we have a pretty big lead at the moment. Here Xin Zhao actually shows up, but Lilia is also there covering, so could end up becoming a 3v3 fight. Dragon's gonna come up in about under a minute or so. So we are of course going to be aware of that. Here, once again, just clearing out the minions. We know Xin Zhao is probably in the area, maybe farming his Krugs or his red buff, so we don't want to play too overly aggressive unless the enemy team does make a mistake. So here, all we're doing is we're just picking up the CS, just getting in some poke, etc. And now that we're able to push out, we're just going to back and pick up some items, of course, before Dragon spawns. Mana Mune completed. Of course, now that we have completed Mana Mune, we're going to spam spells on the way to lane to, of course, get the stacks a little bit more quickly. So here we're gonna make our way back to lane, and the important thing here to note is Xayah is still stuck only on the Noon Quiver, and the Lulu still only has the sickle into the Kindle Gem. So here we're gonna do our best to stop them from recalling because there might be an ensuing dragon fight, although our Lilia is now, Xin Zhao is on the opposite side of the map, but we don't want to allow them to back. You can see that we're playing very aggressively to stop them from backing because now we are at a huge item advantage against them, but if they back, that is not going to be the case. So we want to stop both of them from backing and keep them in the lane. So they either back and have to give up the dragon when our team comes over to contest the dragon, or they have to fight at the dragon with a lot less items, both of which are really good scenarios for me and my team. So here you can see once again we're just pushing in, trying to just land some poke. We don't want to play too aggressive and trade too heavily though, because obviously a dragon fight could come sooner or later. Here we actually see Lulu and Xayah backing. We don't manage to stop Lulu from backing, but we do manage to stop Xayah by going aggressive on her. Of course, this is probably the more important person to stop backing, considering Lulu getting items. Like you can see her items now is like an Ether Wisp and like a Ruby Crystal, which really doesn't matter. But Xayah is still stuck on her Noon Quiver. She probably has enough gold at this point to complete her Shield Bow or her Storm Razor, which I think is what she's going for. Here, the dragon fight does indeed happen. You can see Xayah is forced to fight with basically no completed item. We are able to secure the dragon. And here, unfortunately, the fight kind of goes sideways because my team kind of gets engaged on it. I'm in a pretty bad position, so I'm going to have to walk the long way around to try to help out my team afterwards. Here, I'm just landing pot shots onto the enemy team, and this turns out to be a pretty unfortunate situation. I unfortunately eat into the wall instead of over the wall. I flash into the next wall, and I get CC'd by Ornn, chain CC'd by Ornn, and look at all, basically they were all 1 HP here. This legitimately could have actually been a pentakill for somebody. Could have been me, could have been Varus, could have been somebody if I just played that situation a little bit better. Instead of eating my face straight into the wall, if I just got over that first wall, I think that the situation would have been very different, because I wouldn't have needed to flash the first wall, and I could have had my flash for either an aggressive or defensive play. But really poorly played by me in this situation, unfortunately. But off of the death, we did manage to quote-unquote take the fast way back to base, so we do pick up the armor boots, because as I mentioned, in this particular game, armor boots have so much value. It's the most value for money item at the moment. You can see that we're playing pretty aggressive. We're able to basically half-health the Lucian at this point, and we hit mid to, of course, defend against this Herald, but Herald, of course, does manage to get the first tower. Lilia has kind of gone in on the Lucian, and here I'm just ready to hit over to kind of back her up. Xin Zhao ends up flashing, not Xin Zhao, Lucian ends up flashing away. Xin Zhao flashes away as well, so we're overall not really able to get very much. However, Lucian just gets one shot by the Varus, who has like the Dirk together with the Essence Reaver. There's a one shot right there. We are able to pick up the mid lane tower, which is a pretty huge pickup. I also clear up this control ward, and now we haven't been in top for some time now, so Xayah has been able to push in top, but thankfully not get too much tower plates. Now here Varus kind of gets engaged by Xin Zhao, but there really isn't much I can really do here. I think whatever it, even if I turn back immediately, which I didn't do so on purpose, I don't think anything would have happened there. At most, I would have chunked Xin Zhao to half health, Varus would have died, nothing much really would have changed, so I didn't really think it was worth the time and effort to do that, although I did eventually turn back to try to, I don't know, just poke a little bit, I guess. But here, we do get our Mana Mune evolved into the Mirror Mana, so we are going to be dealing more damage now, and of course we're going to start trying to go towards our Frozen Gauntlet, which is going to be the next power spike, both in terms of damage as well as in terms of defensive capabilities. Here Lilia tries to go in, but Xin Zhao and Lucian are coming in from the side, so I'm not being over aggressive. I land a ult Q onto Lucian. Lucian is almost dead, but gets ulted by Lulu. Same goes for Xayah. I basically auto attack and Q her down to 1 HP. Lucian is stuck at 1 HP again. Here Lulu is also stuck at 1 HP. I'm flashing forward. Unfortunately, Xin Zhao comes in and kills me, and I'm getting pretty tilted at this point, because just now there were 5 1 HP enemies and I couldn't kill any of them. Now there's 3 1 HP enemies and I once again couldn't kill any of them, and I end up dying instead, which is, I'm sure you guys can understand that that's pretty frustrating experience to deal with. But of course, in general, my team is still doing really well, so am I. I'm also doing pretty well, so in terms of the actual game and match, objectively not too much to be upset about, but you know, these kind of 1 HP situations, all enemies being on 1 HP is kind of frustrating. Anyways, here we finally do respawn, but we're gonna have to wait for about 30 more gold to get our Frozen Gauntlet, so we're just gonna stay in the base just for a little while to complete our Frozen Gauntlet, like you see here. And then we can head back out, of course, with this item spike, and it's gonna, of course, you know, make ourselves a lot more useful. So here Xayah is pushing in the top lane, so we're gonna quickly just rotate to the top and take this top wave to ensure it does not just die to the tower and get wasted. Fortunately, didn't secure the cannon there, but you can see that the slow feel on the Frozen Gauntlet is already pretty decent, especially because I did manage to get the armor boots instead of the MR boots, so you can see decent amount of slow feel already. Pretty good. And of course the armor boots also is going to scale up our damage on hit from the Frozen Gauntlet. As you guys know, it scales off of bonus armor, so that is definitely going to be useful. Here the next dragon has spawned, so I'm going to join up with my team to see if we can contest this dragon. Of course we did manage to secure the first one, and here, I don't know why my team, my Lilia is like focusing so hard on getting the red buff, but here Ornn goes in with the engage. I step to the side so I don't get engaged on. Xin Zhao secures the dragon, but looks like we have a pretty good fight here. Varus ult pretty much just spreads to everybody, and I'm just free firing here. Pretty much no one is attacking me. Varus gets a double kill, and Xayah is gonna get killed as well by the Lilia, and my team is flashing for the last kill, the Xin Zhao. It's pretty funny because ends up the 3 damage dealers end up just not giving chase, and it ends up being Malphite and Nami giving chase to the Xin Zhao, the tank and the support, which is pretty pretty funny. A little bit of a miscommunication there because I saw multiple people flashing over. I was like, I don't need to chase this. I can just go for tower. But ends up the people chasing were the two people who doesn't actually deal any damage, which is pretty funny overall. But regardless, we secure a mid lane tier 2 tower out of that successful fight. Here we need to run away, but Lilia is trying to get in some counter jungling. Now is really not the time. I spot a relatively huge wave in bot, and I'm trying to secure this wave before my team can steal the wave from me. Next wave is coming in. I managed to basically get the entirety of this wave, but not much luck in terms of the next wave. So here we can see Xin Zhao coming in. I'm just gonna Arcane Shift away and ensure I don't get caught. But Varus once again looks like he's gonna get caught. He tries to dodge towards the river, but gets knocked out by Ornn. Here Xin Zhao is engaging on us. I'm Arcane Shifting away again, and here I'm now just blasting. Now that we have the support of Nami, and they have pretty much overextended. Ornn is kind of blocking all of my shots, but I eventually managed to get the kill onto the Lulu. Unfortunately, after that kill, I kind of don't really have mana anymore. As you can see, my mana bar is kind of depleted at the moment, so I'm going to actually have to back to get more mana, because without mana, of course, I can't cast spells, and without casting spells, I do way less damage. So of course, building towards Blade of the Rune King, in this case, really useful item to have against the Ornn and the Xin Zhao, who are both kind of tanky chaps on the enemy team. Here we're just going to clear up the top lane as well. Since our team are all at other areas of the map, we're just going to secure the farm as and when we can. And also just take this Gromp in the meanwhile, while just waiting for something to happen, like a fight, an objective, or whatnot. So here, I don't know what I was doing there. Blast planted myself the wrong way. It's okay though, we can Arcane Shift over the wall and solve our issues. So here I'm going to pick up the buff share from the red buff. Looks like something might go down in the bot lane. Ornn gets caught by a bubble, although in the end nothing too much really happens. Here I'm trying to farm the Krugs, but Varus just KSing all of the Krugs, like as if I'm giving him a free leash. Pretty annoying, but it is what it is because it's solo queue. Here I was initially intending to back, but I see the next wave coming in, so I'm just going to stay around and clear the next wave. Honestly, nothing much really happening on the map, aside from Baron being up, but no team can really just start up the Baron at this point, so nothing too much is going on. I'm just going to back and just get ourselves the Blade of the Rune King completed. And next up, we want to probably get a stasis, because if we get engaged on by Xin Zhao or Ornn, we at least have a stasis to be able to buy some time for our team to help us, and not just instantly get one shot. Although, of course, with our tanky build, this should not be happening. Here you can see the enemy team does get a pick onto Lilia, and as a result, they are going to get the Baron. Here, Malphite ult actually kind of messes up my timing on the ult, because I was expecting the enemy team to do damage to the Baron, and I thought I might be able to steal with the ult. But Malphite CCing them meant that they were not able to actually damage the Baron. Either which way, they do secure the Baron. Malphite picks up a double kill. And here we're trying to chase down for the last 2 kills onto the Xayah as well as the Lulu. Here we're just running all the way behind the tower. Malphite picks up another kill and yet another kill, so kind of an unofficial quadra kill for Malphite there, who, considering he's building a full tank, basically means that he kind of KS'd us, because we're the only real damage dealer there. Of course, he did hit a really good like 3-man ulti, but unfortunately I kind of felt that that 3-man ulti prevented me from stealing the Baron. But you know, it's okay, we end up killing the whole enemy team anyway, so the enemy team will not really be able to make very good use of their Baron, especially because all of our waves are pushing in toward their side. So at most, their Baron is going to be used to kind of push out their waves and kind of just maintain a neutral wave state. They only have half a minute of the Baron left anyway, so probably not going to make any kind of impact with this Baron buff. Dragon is now up, so we're going to secure the Dragon before the enemy team can actually come to contest. And since Skull is up, we're also going to take down the Skull. So at this point, you might be able to see that on 3 items, we do deal very decent damage. Of course, we're not doing like very low damage, right? We are doing very decent damage. We're just not doing as much damage as we could have if we went for a more aggressive build. But of course, every build has its pros and cons, and of course, there are trade-offs. So here I was initially intending to do the red, but you can see that Lilia is actually surviving for quite some time. So here I'm trying to help her. She doesn't end up dying, but here I go in on Xin Zhao. I'm trying to kill him, I exhaust him, I get chain CC'd by the Ornn, like so, and I have to pop the stasis to ensure he doesn't get the Brill proc on me. Gonna Arcane Shift away and start kiting him around. Once again, we don't manage to secure the kill, because Varus gets that one, and Malphite gets the other one. Malphite actually has way more kills than me at this point. He has 8 kills, whereas I only have 5, which is pretty tragic when you think about it. But anyways, we do have a lot of assists, 14 assists, which obviously shows that we're involved in all of these fights, just we're not securing the kills. So here we spot an enemy blue buff. We're going to quickly just go for enemy blue buff, which is going to kind of resolve our mana issues. At the same time, Malphite's pushing in the wave, so maybe we can get this tier 2 tower if possible. Lucian is, of course, around to defend it actually, so with his ult we aren't going to really be able to get the tower, so I was trying to back up, but Malphite is, still seems pretty interested in pushing the wave. Since Xayah is no longer anywhere in sight, we have the support of Varus and Nami, we can still kind of try to continue our push in this lane. Now here, the Elder Dragon spawning, so we all are trying to back, but for some reason Malphite cancels his back of his own accord, and Varus and Malphite are kind of just, I don't know what they're doing, to be honest. Like, they're kind of fighting the enemy team. So here they're in a 2v4 against the enemy team. I'm still trying to secure the red buff. I'm not going over there to save them, because I want to be at the Elder Dragon when it spawns, and I want to go for the Elder Dragon. So speaking of which, I'm running over as fast as I can to the Elder Dragon. It has just spawned, and I'm about to make it there within the next 3 seconds. So maybe I wasted about 5 seconds, you know, of not being there. But anyways, here we're trying to burst the Elder Dragon. Enemy team is still busy chasing the Varus and the Malphite. So unfortunately, we don't really do this dragon fast enough, and it's getting really low. But Xin Zhao is now in the area, possibly to steal. Xin Zhao flashes in, tries to get the steal, but I don't know how Varus ends up getting the Elder Dragon. But since we got the Elder Dragon, pretty much the game is going to be kind of won at this point. We pick up a quick triple kill. Lucian is the only one left alive. And I believe enemy team does surrender the game at this point. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.